Facts Verse presents. Model gets sick at a party, and when she wakes up in the hospital, she has "no" written on her leg. Laura Wasser was a 24-year-old model. She was beautiful, young, and athletic. One day, she started to feel sick and she assumed that it was just the flu. That same night, she was invited to a friend's birthday party. She looked very ill and her friends suggested that she go home and get some rest. Well, she began to feel sick at that party, and then a few days later, she was in the hospital with the word "no" written on her leg. We'll tell you why in just a moment. First, help us spread the word about Facts Verse by clicking that like button, and also be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell so you don't miss our future videos. Laura was feeling nauseous, so she agreed with her friends and she went home. The next morning, she woke to a knock on her door. It was the police. She couldn't figure out why the police were at her door. They told her that her mother had called them because she was worried and they were doing a wellness check. She called her mother and told her that yes, she was feeling ill, and she promised to call her the next morning when she was feeling better. The next morning, the police were at her door again. Her mother called and asked them to check on her a second time. This time it took them 30 minutes to get into the apartment. They found her face down on the floor with a fever of 107. She had had a heart attack and her kidneys were shutting down. The police quickly got her to the hospital and prayed that she got there in time. The doctors couldn't figure out what was causing her condition. Fortunately, there was an infectious disease doctor on staff that day, and he suggested that they check to see if she was wearing a tampon, and she was. They realized she had toxic shock syndrome, or TSS. TSS is a life-threatening condition. It's a complication caused by toxins produced by strep or staph bacteria. The condition can cause low blood pressure, a high fever, diarrhea, vomiting, a sunburn-like rash, muscle aches, headaches, and seizures. The condition is most common in women who've been wearing tampons and then develop an infection. Other causes include diaphragms, contraceptive sponges, surgery, viral infections, or cuts or burns to the skin. When the doctors realized what was going on with Laura, they were not very optimistic about her future. They told her mother and her godfather that they might want to consider saying goodbye to her, maybe thinking about a funeral. The doctors said that it would be a miracle if she were to walk out that door. The doctors put her in a medically induced coma to help her get stronger while receiving the necessary treatment. When she woke up, she heard a nurse in her room talking about how her leg would be amputated below the knee. She looked down and her feet were burned and swollen. When she found out that she would be losing her leg, she broke down in tears. She knew it was necessary because her leg was gangrenous and painful. The day of the surgery came, and she had to sign a consent for the surgery. A doctor came in and wrote the word "no" on her good leg and "yes" on the leg that would be amputated. They did this to be sure that mistakes were not made. After the surgery, Lauren was, of course, depressed. Wouldn't you be? She was even thinking of killing herself, though, until her little brother got her to realize that suicide was not the answer. After speaking to her brother, she developed a new attitude. She went back to her own life, and she started modeling again. She even did a job for Nordstrom where her artificial leg was visible. She also used her story to raise awareness of toxic shock syndrome and how dangerous it can be. She wanted women to understand the dangers of wearing tampons for too long. She says that if her story can save just one woman, it will have all been worth it. Laura says that losing part of her leg has been difficult at times, but she wouldn't change what happened to her. She says that near-death experience gave her clarity, something she'd never had before. She also says it's given her life purpose. When interviewed about her life before the amputation and her life now, she said, "My heart wouldn't be full. I wouldn't feel like I'm doing good. I wouldn't feel like I'm making an impact positively. I wouldn't have known what that felt like because I didn't do that before." She says that if given a chance, she wouldn't change a thing. Subscribe for more.